We start today's episode by taking a first look at the top 3 of a class that shows the promise to maybe be one of the most impactful draft classes of this decade, starting here with center prospect Darren Anthony, who came into this draft projected to be the number 1 overall player. Some now project him to be at number 2, and we'll talk about who's maybe overtaking him here in a minute. But first, we must talk about Darren Anthony, whose name of his game is primarily his rebounding prowess. He projects to immediately be somebody that can come into the league and maybe even lead the league in rebounding in year 1, given the minutes to do so. He's also an incredible defender inside. His ability to alter shots, block shots, everything that has to do with protecting the rim, he is elite at and projects to be very good from the first minute he steps onto a basketball court. Offensively, he's not dominant in any specific area. He has a B- for inside scoring, but he's definitely shown flashes of being able to have a few post moves, as well as being able to take advantage of mismatches down low. He also has some range. He's maybe not an elite 3-point shooter, although our scouts certainly think maybe he's underrated in his 3-point shooting compared to where he's ranked in consensus. He doesn't take a ton of those outside shots, however, so I don't think he's going to be this generational stretch 5 unless he starts to take more of them. But he's a very good screener. He can score on the roll. Darren Anthony is somebody who projects to maybe be even an all-star in year 1, and that's kind of why he was originally projected to be the number 1 player off the board. Our scouts project him to be an 86 overall player off of the rip. Now, this is somebody that the 2K class just generated. I have no idea what this guy's ratings are at all, and so maybe he is an 86. I will tell you, our scouts aren't the absolute best. They're not bad by any means, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're off here. But our scouts say his 3-point scoring is A+. The consensus is that it's only B, so I imagine it's not actually A+. If it is, that'd be pretty nuts. He only has A- potential, which means he might already be close to his cap. In terms of badges, he has 9. And so really good starting point badges wise. This guy projects to be an impact player early, and definitely somebody that you'd love to get your hands on with either the 1st or 2nd overall pick. Now, the second guy we're going to be talking about, who started as the number 2 player but has kind of wiggled his way into the number 1 pick conversation, is Sidney Lowry. He's a shooting guard, small forward kind of player, and he is also known for his defense. Doesn't get a ton of defensive highlights, but that's mostly because teams have started to just avoid whoever he's guarding. Just doesn't get a ton of action at night. That's how much his length and his defensive technique can bother teams. On the offensive side, he's somebody that can score with the ball, off the ball. He's got an elite 3-point range projection, also can score in the mid-range. Really a 3-level scorer. He's not an elite guy on the drive. He doesn't finish over contact a ton at college, so he doesn't project to maybe be somebody like a Jackson Baldwin from 2K23 who can just finish over everybody all the time. More of a gonna be making his money scoring wise in the mid-range and the long ball, but he can also make plays for himself and for his teammates. He definitely projects to be somebody that can shoulder the load of an offense for years to come, and the fact that he's a Tennessee guy makes him just even more of an intriguing prospect. But I thought before, at the start of the season, he could be somebody that we could snag at 2. Looking more like we're going to have to win the lottery if we want to select Sidney Lowry in this draft as time goes along. He is, I would probably say, somebody I would take over Darren Anthony, his overall isn't nearly as good. His badge situation, he has 11 of them. And a lot of them are for defense and shooting, not a ton in the playmaking and driving areas of his game. But this is a very exciting player, and I think he, as of right now, would be the target for us should we obtain that first overall pick. Now, the third guy we're going to talk about is Lynn Montgomery out of Michigan. And stop me if you've heard this before, but the name of his game is his defensive impact. But he, even more than maybe Lowry and Anthony, projects to be somebody that can be maybe the most impactful defender in the league at some point in his career. He can defend down low. He has plenty of strength and length to do that. Also has the quickness to be able to defend on the perimeter as well. He's going to be somebody that you can put on your best player no matter who it is. You could put him on their point guard. You can put him in some cases on the center. I don't think he can guard every center in the league, but offensively, he's more of kind of a connective piece. What puts him as definitely third on this list is that he does not project to be somebody that can be the leader of an offense. He can definitely be somebody you build a defense around, and he can definitely contribute to an offense for sure. But can you count on him to be the guy that's taking most of your shots, that's setting your offense up, that's gonna be, in the last 3 minutes of a close game, the guy that's taking all your shots? He's just not there. I think he's not bad in any one area. He projects based off his ratings: B inside scoring, C+ mid-range, C- 3-point, to be really solid, if not good, in all three of those areas, but just not quite as ready to contribute as somebody like Darren Anthony or Sidney Lowry, which is why he likely will be going third. Some even project him to be fourth. I think this is a 3-player class. Other scouts around the league think it is a 4-person class, and we'll talk about who they count in the top of this draft class in future episodes. I really wanted to use this episode to talk about the top 3 in my mind of this class. And so Lynn Montgomery, definitely third by a wide margin, because with this team, we don't have somebody that I can see leading our offense into the future. I don't think if we were to take Lynn Montgomery, he would be that either. I think if we want somebody that can kind of be the building block of our offense, it's going to have to be one of these first 2 players. But I would be more than happy to select Lynn Montgomery should we land the 3rd or maybe even 4th pick. We could be able to select him in this upcoming class. In terms of badges, he also is really good. He has 10. A lot on defense with some playmaking badges as well. It kind of goes to him being more of a connective piece on offense, where he can make the plays for others, occasionally make some for himself, but not to the level of these other 2 players that we've previewed. And so just to tell you a little bit about this class and why it looks so good, all 3 of these players are 2K generated prospects. I didn't custom make any of these guys. What I did do, however, is I used the create a draft class feature in NBA 2K, and I snagged the number 1 player from 2 different classes and basically implanted them into this class. So this class basically has 3 number 1 prospects in 3 different classes. Darren Anthony was the one that I did not import. He was already in this class. Didn't have to do anything for that. Lynn Montgomery is somebody that I imported into this class, as is Sidney Lowry. So I kind of like this way of balancing, maybe having a little bit of a custom class with not having it be overpowered like it was in 2K23, where I used prospects that somebody had put on the 2K share. I even nerfed them, but they were still probably a little bit too good. These guys, I feel like it's less, maybe not cheating, but like kind of cutting corners by using generated players that can just be really good. And not that I don't want really good players early on in a franchise, I absolutely do, but I feel a lot better if they're players that 2K generated, the guys that I generated, just to kind of be really good. So that's the top 3. In terms of the rest of this class, it looks really good. We'll talk more about other players later, but if you want to see the guy that other people think is a top 3 player is Dino Rancic. I think he's definitely really good and draftable for sure. If we end up getting no lottery luck whatsoever, I can absolutely see us taking a guy like Rancic. Like I said, we'll talk more about him later. He's kind of a jack of all trades kind of guy, but he does have that A+ potential. Now with the draft preview portion, taking a look at exciting prospects for next year is over. Let's go ahead and take a look at the most exciting prospect from this year's. We will take on the Spurs on the road. We're gonna pull out our alternate uniforms in this matchup, something I never did in my 2K23 franchise, not on purpose, just kind of happened by accident that way. But we're gonna start off with a quick 5-0 lead in this one until Victor Wembanyama pick and pop 3 is down the barrel. That is something I truly don't know how you defend. You can't properly contest a 7'5" player's 3-point attempt. It's gonna be really interesting to see Victor Wembanyama, what he can be in the NBA, of course, should he stay healthy, which I think we're all rooting for. Tied at 7 apiece as the Spurs continue to work through Victor Wembanyama to start this game. Hard to blame him. He's, like I said, pretty much unguardable there as Cullen Johnson gets to the rim a little bit easier than I would have liked. As you can see, we're pretty much showing exclusively Spurs highlights here as we would kind of sputter out after we hit that 7-point mark. But a nice contest there by Hartenstein would lead to the Wembanyama miss. Nashville going the other way. Gonna get a screen and roll here. The bounce pass to Jalen Johnson leads to the slam. What a pass by THT. Finally ending that drought. Johnson on the drive just overpowers Duncan Robinson and gets the shot to go. THT cross court finds a wide open Bruce Brown who nails the 3. 16-12 now the score for our squad. On the cutter play, Wembanyama scores once again. He's been a problem for us, much like I thought he would be. Johnson into the shot clock, forced to put up a tough shot, hits it anyway. That's going to lead to a Nashville timeout. Down by 5. Zaire Williams, he was given plenty of space from the mid-range, and that's an area of the court where he has been money for us in these spotlight games. That's a 3 in transition for Devontae Graham. Hardy now trying to go to work on Graham. He goes up and under or I guess not up and under, but the pump fake and gets the shot to go. But Graham will answer him right back with a 3 on the other end. San Antonio leads by 7. Moody, that's a nice shot. Preview just how good he's been doing this season in last episode. And if he keeps hitting shots like that, it's going to be tough to keep him on the bench, honestly, despite the fact that he is our lowest overall rotation player. And that would result in the end here of the first quarter. We're down by 4. Had a really big lull there. Otherwise, we've been hanging with San Antonio for the most part in this game thus far. Moody finds a cutting Hardy there. Good start to the game for Hardy, I'd say. Vassell off the dribble, has space from 3, and that one splashes in. Graham, pick and roll with Zach Collins, make that pick and pop, and Collins is going to drain the 3 on the tail end of that play. Hardy pulls up from deep, hits the shot. This is easily the best start of a game we've seen thus far in our first 3 gameplay episodes. Collins on the pick and roll. He's heating up here in the second. Vassell, step back, finds Collins inside, who kicks it to Dorian Finney-Smith. He had all the space in the world on that 3. Spurs lead by 8. Sticking with the Spurs once again, and DFS gets another clean look from 3. Makes us pay again, now a double-digit lead. Once again, we're seeing a lot of consecutive Spurs highlights as Wemby hits another pick and pop 3. As we're going through another drought. We've just had long scoring droughts, resulting in now a ballooned 17-point Spurs lead. Bruce Brown, these two look very similar aesthetically on the court, would eventually break our drought, but we really let the Spurs get a stranglehold of this game with these two very large scoring droughts that we've been on here in the first half, kind of proving why a guy like Sidney Lowry or Darren Anthony, somebody that you could run your offense through, is very much so needed on this team. Jalen Johnson left wide open from three. He splashes at home. The lead cut to 14. Keldon Johnson left open for three himself. The three-point defense in this game has not been spectacular. We'll just say that. THT layup is good for him. Wemby, they've run that play a ton, and that is exactly why they've been doing it. It works pretty much every time. I knew Wemby was going to be tough to guard, but my goodness, I think I underestimated it. I think he's actually just unguardable. Bruce Brown nails the open three. He's done that a few times for us in this game. Trey Jones' floater is good on the other end, though. We cannot seem to build any sort of a run here as the Spurs are just scoring again and again as we try to make our comeback attempts. Jones, he's going to stop and pop from the mid-range, splashes it in, and it's now a 20-point game as this half comes to a close. Zaire, the leaning three is good. Zaire Williams, not a great three-point shooter, but he can hit those occasionally. Keldon Johnson going to get fouled by Zaire Williams with 1.3 seconds left in the half. So we're going to go from down, 4 after 1 to down 20. This time the scoring lull we went on ended up damaging us a lot more than it did in that first quarter. 47-67. Hey, this game was competitive for a quarter. You know, our expansion team stuck with the Spurs. Not that that's the biggest accomplishment. I mean, they did just pick number 1 overall after all. Nice corner three there from Duncan Robinson. Vassell. I mean, how do you leave a guy that wide open? It's not like Vassell's what's the guy's name who had the weirdest jump shot in history? Went to Charlotte. Gilchrist? I can't remember. Anyway, back to this game. Trey Jones hits the three. Back up to a 20-plus point lead for the Spurs. Hartenstein gets that over Wemby. The one thing I am surprised about this game from Wemby is I thought he would just be blocking shots left and right on us. He's done a good job not allowing him to do that. I think that's because a lot of our shots come from the perimeter, though, if we're being honest, and Hartenstein doesn't get a ton of shots. But like if we did run through Hartenstein more, Wemby would have had a lot bigger impact here in terms of blocking shots. That was not a great pass by THT. Spurs running it the other way. They're going to find Wemby in transition. Jalen Johnson will prevent the dunk. Wemby gets a couple of free throws here. Hardy for three, catch and shoot, drains it. Easily, once again, I'll say it like I said before, the best game we've seen from Hardy. He's probably the only player that I've truly been impressed with in this game, which is why we're down by so many points. Wemby slams it home on the other end. I will say I've liked what I've seen from Zaire Williams too. So maybe two players that I've liked what we've seen so far. Moody, he's got it. Goes inside to Jaden Hardy and another bucket for him. He continues his strong performance. Moody off the dribble, drains the three. Also haven't minded what I've seen from Moody. So we've had a few good performances here as Moody forces the miss here. And we find Utah on the other end, and that's another forced miss. Two straight missed dunks. Now the defense was good on both, so it's hard to be mad at that, as Duncan Robinson's going to get this steal. But, I mean, some sloppy basketball being played right now. Moody just goes right by Sohan, gets to the rim, and the foul. Yeah, never mind. Moody, he's definitely entered the conversation of guys that have impressed me here in this episode. Zaire Williams finishes with the reverse slam. Jones to the basket. Zaire Williams defending but can't force the miss. We just can't seem to ever really get a run going in this game, man. We just can't string together any stops against this Spurs team here ever since the first quarter. Nice pick and roll with the shot clock down to 1 second with Moses Moody and Jaden Hardy. Those have definitely been the two most impressive players here, as Moody's turned it on here in the third quarter a lot. And then Zaire Williams. That's kind of our big three for this game. Scoring-wise, we haven't been terrible. I mean, we're at 75 points here, which is a little low, but not like crazy as Bitazde gets himself a block. It's been the defense has been the problem today for our team, more so than the offense. Like I said, we had 2 really bad lulls in the first and second quarters. But apart from that, I honestly like what I've seen from this offense. I think we're getting pretty good looks and our players are hitting them. It's just we cannot get a stop to save our lives. Moody, tough shot, he hits it. I think I've seen enough. It's been, we looked at how efficient Moody has been in the simulated games. It's been 2 consecutive games that he's impressed us in the spotlight games as well. Moody needs a bigger role. I think we have to put this guy in the starting lineup. And here we go. He catches Vassell napping and gets the slam dunk. Moody's really turned it on here in the second half. But just like what I was saying, we cannot get stops on this Spurs team. I mean, they're not even that good apart from Wemby. How could we not? I mean, Keldon Johnson's been a problem for us. Devontae Graham's been a problem for us. Moody has been the opposite of a problem for us. I mean, he's vaulted himself probably into first place as to who's had the best game today with what he's done here in the second half. Graham, pick and pop, Dorian Finney-Smith. He's been hitting all night and he'll hit once again. This game getting more and more out of hand here. Moody gonna tack 2 more onto his tally for the night. But just an inability to get stops is what's gonna ultimately have us simulating the last half here of this fourth quarter. We'd end up losing 129-106. Keldon Johnson was a big-time problem for us. 12 of 14 shooting, goodness. Wemby ended up shooting only 50%. I think a lot of those misses were in simulation, though. I don't feel like... Maybe he did miss. But Hardy and Moody both poured in 20 points. Moody, 8 of 10. Stellar performance. Bruce Brown was really good, too. Should have shouted him out. He was hitting his open threes. Really, everybody was good at scoring. Like I said, offense wasn't the problem today. Taylor Horton-Tucker didn't have a good game. But no one else was, that far under 50%, or they might have been actually above 50%. So that puts us down to 10-35 on the year. Not looking good for us as we get towards the end of the season. But like I said, definitely Moody needs to be a starter. Originally, I put him in for Brown, but I think Duncan Robinson has really cooled off his three-point shooting. He hasn't been shooting as well as I think he should. So we'll keep Brown in the starting lineup. He just came off a really good game as well. Robinson headed to the bench. Moody going to start for us for the rest of the year. And I am planning on... I know there's still a lot of season, almost half of it left. I think we might go through the rest of the season. We might do 2 episodes, but I think it might just be 1. I'm undecided. I wanted to get through this first season in about 5 episodes, and this is episode 4. So next episode might be a ton of simming, or I might split it into 2. I'm still undecided. Either way, that episode will be coming out soon, and I will see you then.